Junior Seau played 20 seasons in the NFL, made 12 Pro Bowls, and was loved by an entire nation. He died at 43 by his own hand and donated his brain to science. What did they find in his brain? And why did it matter so much? But to understand what happened, you gotta go back to the 1970s. If you grew up in Oceanside, California in the 1970s with Samoan immigrant parents who worked themselves to the bone just to keep food on the table, football wasn't just a game. It was survival. Junior Seau's father worked at the rubber factory and cleaned schools. His mother ran laundromats at Camp Pendleton. 4 kids slept in the garage because there wasn't enough room inside. When Junior was born, the family moved back to American Samoa for a few years, then came back to San Diego. He didn't speak English until he was 7. And his father, Tiana Sr., taught him one rule that shaped everything. If you lose, you're a failure. So Junior made sure he never lost. By high school, this 6'3" linebacker was exploding off the line. College scouts showed up from across the country, and USC offered him a full ride. That scholarship meant his parents didn't have to choose between rent and food anymore. But the NCAA said Junior's SAT score was too low despite his 3.6 GPA. So he sat out his freshman year in 1988, labeled a dumb jock by a system that didn't care what he actually knew. But when he finally stepped onto that field in 1989, he recorded 19 sacks and became a unanimous first-team All-American. Nobody questioned him again. The San Diego Chargers took him 5th overall in the 1990 draft. Hometown hero, immediate starter, and from day one, Junior Seau played football differently than everyone else.
I could feel the offensive lineman looking at me. I could feel all this.
Now, here's the thing about Junior Seau that made him different. Most linebackers wait to see where the play goes, but Seau didn't do that. The second the play started, he was already shooting through the gap with his helmet, hitting whoever was in front of him at full speed. The contact sounded like a car wreck. That's how he played for 20 years, with over 1,500 career tackles, and every single one of them leading with his helmet. His coaches loved it. Teammates fed off of it. The entire city of San Diego built their identity around watching him play like that. Bill Belichick called him the best defensive player in the league. Howie Long said Seau was a buzzsaw running on red line all the time. And Seau himself once said, "I'm afraid of being average. I have a real fear of being just another linebacker."
But once we lose, it's just like a death that you're carrying around. You're carrying around luggage. You're so disappointed. It's just numb.
So when 1994 came around, Seau led the Chargers to the Super Bowl with a pinched nerve in his neck that left him playing with one good arm. Against Pittsburgh in the AFC Championship, the Steelers were 9-point favorites. Seau recorded 16 tackles while that nerve screamed at him the entire game. And late in the fourth quarter, he made the game-sealing tackle. The entire city of San Diego lost its mind. But the Super Bowl? San Francisco had Steve Young and Jerry Rice in their primes. The 49ers were massive favorites. Seau played the entire game on one arm, and San Francisco won big. But the way Junior Seau played that game told you everything. Football wasn't just what he did, it was who he was. And something was building inside him that nobody could see.
And I have never been as embarrassed as I was when I went to the Super Bowl and obviously us losing the way we did.
But stop here for a second. What killed Junior Seau wasn't one catastrophic moment. It wasn't the highlight reel hit. It was every snap across 20 years. The ones nobody remembers. Now, here's what nobody understood at the time. When a linebacker engages a fullback in the gap at full speed, both players leave the field fine, except they're not. Every hit causes damage deep inside the brain. Damage you can't feel. And that damage builds up over time. The brain has no way to fix itself. Think about Seau's career. He played 268 games, led the team in tackles 8 different seasons, and in 64 of those games, he recorded 10 or more tackles. Now, think about what that means for a brain absorbing impact after impact year after year with no way to heal. Researchers found something in 2012 that explained everything. One season of college football caused brain damage in 2/3 of players, and only 2 of them had been diagnosed with concussions. The damage came from the routine hits, the ones that happen on every play.
But if it's overwhelmed because it's getting hit 70, 80, 90 times a day, those proteins just build up.
Seau played like this for 2 decades. kids. After he retired, his family started seeing the cracks. His ex-wife Gina said one day he'd be calm, the next he'd explode over nothing. The insomnia got so bad that he couldn't sleep more than a few hours. He'd forget conversations from the day before, make decisions that didn't make sense, and he was pulling away from everyone who loved him. Then came the moment that should have been a warning to everyone. October 17th, 2010. Around 10 p.m., Oceanside police get a call about a domestic dispute at Seau's home. The argument with his girlfriend had turned physical, and Seau wasn't there when they showed up. So they arrested him around midnight when he came back, charged him with felony spousal assault. He posted bail at 3:30 in the morning and walked out. 5 hours later, Seau was driving his white Escalade down Carlsbad Boulevard. It was 9 a.m. The road was empty. The morning was clear. And then he drove straight off the cliff at 60 miles per hour. 30-foot drop to the beach. No skid marks. A witness said he heard the engine rev right before it happened. Police pulled him out with minor injuries, and they told reporters he fell asleep at the wheel, with no alcohol or drugs in him, but just an accident. That's what went public. But 3 months later, on the day after his birthday, Seau told his girlfriend, Mary Nolan, the truth. It wasn't an accident. He had tried to end it. He just didn't want anyone to know yet. If you're a guy who's never shown weakness in your life, how do you ask for help when you don't even understand what's wrong? Look, the culture of the NFL back then didn't allow weakness. Toughness meant playing through everything. And asking for help? That wasn't even an option for a guy whose entire identity was built on never showing pain.
Look, I'm going to play hurt, and not only that, but if I tell people about the fact that I'm hurt, they may keep me out of the game.
His family saw what was happening, and the question everyone should have been asking was whether the NFL saw it too. The morning of May 2nd, 2012 started like any other morning in Oceanside. Then, at 9:35, Seau's girlfriend, Megan, walked into his home and found him on the floor with a gunshot wound to the chest. Not the head, the chest. He was 43 years old. The day before, Seau had texted his ex-wife Gina and their 4 kids, "I love you." He sent Gina another message alone. "One of the biggest mistakes I ever made was not fighting for you." And his daughter Sydney didn't respond because she thought he was drunk texting. He wasn't.
He always texted me that he loved me. So it was weird. I had no idea he knew how to send a group message.
But the choice to shoot himself in the chest instead of the head said everything. Dave Dworson had done the exact same thing 15 months earlier. Both men wanted their brains studied, and they knew something was destroying them from the inside. So Seau's family donated his brain to the National Institutes of Health. Dr. Russell Losner set up a blind study. 3 neuropathologists examined tissue from 3 different brains. Seau, an Alzheimer's patient, and a healthy control. None of them knew which was which. The question everyone wanted answered was what they found. The NIH took months to complete the analysis. The neuropathologists worked independently. The family waited. And on January 10th, 2013, the results came back. It was chronic traumatic encephalopathy, stage 2 out of 4. Stage 2 meant the disease was advanced, spreading throughout his brain, and irreversible. Dr. Ann McKee from Boston University said the damage wasn't early stage anymore. It was becoming widespread. And this is what made denial impossible. Junior Seau was never diagnosed with a concussion during his entire 20-year career. Not even once. But the damage was there anyway, because the brain damage doesn't come from the big diagnosed concussions. It comes from all those routine hits nobody keeps track of. Now, the NFL knew this. In 2005, their own committee published a paper saying chronic brain injury has never been reported in American football players. That same year, Dr. Bennett Amalu published findings showing Mike Webster had CTE from repeated blows. And the NFL demanded the journal retract it, called his research completely wrong and not appropriate science. Dr. Ira Kassan, the committee's co-chairman, went on camera in 2007 and denied any link between head injuries and brain damage. He said it again in 2010 in a congressional testimony that CTE has never been linked to athletics. But private emails between the NFL's own doctors said the exact opposite. Internal acknowledgement that repeated hits were dangerous. So publicly, the NFL was saying no links exist, while privately, their own doctors were writing emails saying hits cause damage. And the truth stayed buried in the files the league fought to keep sealed, until Junior Seau's brain made it impossible to hide. The NIH results were peer-reviewed, blind-tested, and undeniable. This is the moment the story stopped being about one tragic player and became about a system that lied. Here's what protection looked like during Seau's career. Trainers asked how many fingers they were holding up. If you got it right, you returned to the game. That's it. Baseline testing didn't exist. Independent doctors weren't there. And return protocols? None of that existed until after Seau was gone. Then, in August 2013, the NFL agreed to a $765 million settlement covering 18,000 retired players. The league didn't admit wrongdoing, didn't disclose internal files. A settlement later got restructured to over $1 billion across 65 years. But by 2024, more than 1,100 claims had been denied. A Washington Post investigation found that of 1,241 players who filed dementia claims with actual doctor diagnosis, only 15% got approved. Settlement administrators said symptoms weren't severe enough or blamed them on other conditions, also caused by head trauma.
Since then, the NFL has awarded $1.2 billion to more than 1,600 athletes, rejecting payouts to hundreds of retired players suffering from dementia, including many who died.
Beyond the settlement, the rules changed. In 2013, the NFL made it a 15-yard penalty to lower your head and initiate contact outside the tackle box. The rule had been discussed for 3 years before it finally passed. Kickoff lines moved from the 30 to the 35. Touchbacks moved from the 20 to the 25. All are designed to reduce returns. Concussions on kickoffs dropped 40%. The three-man wedge got banned. Targeting penalties now include ejections. Guardian caps showed up at practice. Every single one of those changes is an admission the NFL will never make in court. Ted Johnson knew this firsthand. The Patriots linebacker won 3 Super Bowls, then retired in 2005 after Bill Belichick got him cleared to play just 4 days after a concussion against the trainer's advice. Johnson engaged a fullback on his first play back and suffered another concussion. By 2007, he was telling the New York Times, "There's something wrong with my brain. And I know when it started." The same instinct that made Johnson a champion, playing through everything, sacrificing his body for the team, was exactly what the system exploited. That's the pattern. The toughness the NFL sells tickets on is the same toughness that destroys the men who deliver it. Now, here's the human cost. Junior Seau believed that playing through pain made you a man, that showing weakness made you a failure, that sacrificing your body for the team was what loyalty looked like. And the NFL built a billion-dollar empire on that exact belief. They sold tickets by glorifying the violence. They marketed the brutality, and they made money off players who would destroy themselves rather than admit something was wrong. Seau's daughter was 10 when he died. His mother said if she'd known what was happening inside him, she would have told him to stop playing. He never would have listened. And that's the tragedy. His brain confirmed what the league spent decades denying. Stage 2 CTE from 30 years of accumulated hits. No documented concussions. Just thousands of routine collisions that felt like nothing at the time. The question was never whether Junior Seau was tough enough. He was the definition of tough. The question is whether a system that profits from that toughness has any obligation to protect the people it uses, and whether it answered that question honestly. Every rule change the NFL made after 2012 is an admission written in policy instead of words. If this story hit you different, hit that like button. And let me know in the comments what player story you want next. Subscribe because you won't want to miss our next video.